it reduces pain and inflammation, promotes healing. It's more effective than mesenchymal stem cells, so we're trying to just even improve that market, and it's effective at every stage of the healing process. Now, on this picture, I just want to give you a little visual representation, because when I say, oh, anti-inflammatory, it sounds pretty boring. There's no visual cues for you. So this is an animal model that has a chronic inflammation and is seen by the mouse having no hair. It's so chronic, the inflammation in the body, that the hair is falling off. And when we use our drug, the hair is still there, meaning a visual representation in how potent this biologic is. And this is our pipeline. We are in this P001 anti-inflammatory, and we're trying to target tendinopathy. Our second line is for COPD, lung, eczema, and our second drug that we have ongoing research on is on pulmonary fibrosis and multi-organ fibrosis.
So when Ramon introduced me to his new drug and this solution, I brought in a few medical director and chief medical officer, and we evaluated what are we going to do with this technology that has regenerative properties, no risk of excessive use, and extremely potent anti-inflammatory component that we can create and scale at such a cheap price. And so we decided to target tendinopathy after a market analysis, and we noticed that out of the 26 ongoing FDA clinical trials for tendinopathy, none of these are introducing a new drug. So we went on to discover that this is a known problem in a large market. As you can see, it's a $13.8 billion market today. Steroids is kind of the first line of defense, 70-year-old technology, and tendinopathy represents essentially 50% of sports injuries, 65% of visits to orthopedic surgeons, etc. So we decided from the animal model, we went on and did an IRB clinical trial. And so we did a double-blind study for tennis elbow, elbow tendinopathy, and these were the results that we have to date. This is still an ongoing IRB trial. We also have plans to move forward with the IRB trial for COPD in the future, but we're seeing after 1 month, 80% reduction in pain, and in FDA clinical trials, we've seen 20% accepted as significant. Go ahead. So what we've done so far is $9 million in 5 years worth of research, and we're at the point now where we're ready to get on to FDA clinical trials. Our projections from a top-down analysis show that we could be 200 million in revenue just from this one product in the next 10 years, but we also have a product pipeline. Go ahead. And this is our team at this stage. We have expert advisors, chief medical director, who is an expert in clinical trials as well.
All right, guys, thanks. Questions? Let me see. Any hands for questions? Thanks. Robert.
Nice presentation. I have 3 questions. So the first one is could you give us a little color on scaling, since you're going to have to go and get placentas, and it needs to be preserved to do the drug. The second part of the question is there are competitors doing things in this area. So if you could comment in terms of your IP moat. And the third is do you have any clinical trials specific to these areas that you're talking about that you want to focus on, such as tennis elbow and so on, in terms of the data that shows the efficacy?
Yeah, Robert, thank you for those questions. So first of all, we are working with a GMP facility that is here in San Antonio, within 15 minutes of our lab. And we have a great relationship with the owner over there. So that's where we're getting our GMP stamped product at this time. There's also the opportunity to do lyophilization. And of course, we're hoping to, at some point, get this to a synthetic stage. But right now, we have capabilities of getting it at the cost that we provided you all here locally without any issues on getting the placentas that we need.
Right now, there's more placentas being tossed away than actually being used. So in terms of scalability and tissue banks, it's a well-known, established network. So we won't be reinventing the wheel when it comes down to accessing to placentas. And also, in terms of scalability, we don't need too many placentas to generate a lot of the biologic. In terms of competitors, there we can talk in depth with a lot of on the science and everything like that. But essentially, none of the people that are in the market for tissue products know how to do the extract. Some of the research that we've done is actually understand the mechanism of action and how it's working. And people who are wondering on that area are not necessarily wanting to go to the FDA and get a new biologic because they don't have proper understanding. So they're mostly using it as a tissue product. And this is not a tissue product. This is a whole new biologic. Think about, for example, liver extract were used for anemia back in the days. People are doing liver extract right now. We're just taking vitamin B12 and actually isolating it and giving it to patients with anemia. So we're just having the extract components of it. In terms of the clinical trial, so the data that we showed here is on humans. We have the clinical trial going on right now for up to 50 patients. We need to update all the data that is coming along. So this is done in humans that they already have both elbows hurting. Without the doctor or the patient knowing, one is getting a placebo and the other one is getting our drug. And these are the results for humans that are significant. For the other cases for COPD and eczema, we have trial human data that we've done, and it's promising, and that's the reason why we're going in that direction. Of course, we have the animal data, and we have all the in vitro data, but then we have also human data, pilot studies that we've done, and we've seen very promising feedback from the doctors being like, this is a powerful thing, this is very useful. So that's the reason why we're using those as a pipeline, because we already have some clinical human evidence on that end.
Thanks, Joshua. We have about 2 minutes left, and we have 4 questions at least. So Yoko, can you ask your next question, please?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Great presentation, great and promising product. So congratulations with that. You're talking to investors today and judges, and when investors have pain, it's pain in their purse. You are raising between $1 to $3 million. How much do you exactly need, and what are you going to spend it on? You said you described that it was for your phase 1, but can you give a more detailed breakdown?
So Ramon has done a lot of work on getting us to this stage. And what's unique about this opportunity in terms of investment is the fact that $9 million in 5 years have already been put into developing the drug, and none of that is dilutive. So all that was essentially donation. Now, it's extremely rare to be able to say we can get to phase 1 clinical trials with $1 to $3 million. And Ramon, you can tell them exactly.
Yeah, so essentially what we're doing with the FDA is we're hoping to use that $1 to $3 million in less than 2 years, and it's going to be all based for getting a trial, an IND phase 1 clinical trial. So that's what the money is going to be going for. And on the patent, we want to do more of a family patents around it. So the money is going to be used all for the clinical trial, for the FDA regulatory components, and for the patent applications. They're going to be surrounding and protecting, putting a fence around all the technology that we have.
Thanks, Joshua. Bob Warscher, your question. Bob. Oh, you're on mute, Bob.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry. Gentlemen, it's like I just have a more business question. I see that you're owned by or somehow connected with Crown Scientific, which when I log on their website, they ask me to donate money. Could you describe this relationship? Or maybe I misunderstood it.
Now, before you answer over there, Joshua, the time is up. So judges begin evaluating, and then while they are evaluating, Joshua, go ahead and answer that question, please.
Sure. So Crown Scientific is the lab that we're in right now, and it is owned exclusively by Dr. Coronado. Parator Therapeutics is our objective to commercialize this specific drug and this IP. So we formed Parator Therapeutics in the structure for investors, C Corp, Delaware, exactly in the way that we would to take this technology and all of its IP. It's owned exclusively by Parator. Ramon is the only member of the board on Parator Therapeutics. Parator owns all of the IP, and Ramon is the primary shareholder of Parator Therapeutics.
Yeah, so just to put it simply, Crown is just a laboratory where the work is being done. It's an incubator space for other companies too. So it's a wet space.
All right. Thanks, guys. We're going to have to migrate on to the next presenter. Michael and Bob, promise you'll be the first to ask questions next round. All right. Okay, JJ.
There you go.
please.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Josh. The next in line, please raise your hand, and that is, oh, I took it away from my face again here. Hold on one second. Again, I lost it. I'll tell you in a sec. Okay, here we go. Next in line is Riaz with Saidan. Okay, here we go. Riaz, are you there? Are you ready? Okay, here we go. I'm bringing you in, Riaz. All right, we'll bring Amy to the table too.
There we go. You guys can hear and see me.
There you go.
Yep.
Great. And I will present my screen and make sure everybody can see it.
Yep.
Okay, great. And if you'll just indulge me, I just want to make sure that I move things over and make sure that it's great. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Riaz Ali, CEO and founder of Saidan. We've launched Ask Claire, a digital service that helps people make a more confident Medicare decision. 9 months after we kicked off our first test in California, we've scaled our digital platform nationally and have launched our first pilot with a regional Medicare Advantage plan. Imagine Sandra. She's 67 years old. She's one of the 1.1 million people in Los Angeles County who has over 100 Medicare products to pick from. And like 35% of people, she says the process is way too complicated. And she's not even sure she's made the right choice for herself. Now, a poor plan fit is not just a problem for Sandra. It's a problem for the health plan who has to contend with member abrasion and churn. In other words, it's a loss of long-term value for both. With a growing market, this problem will just become bigger. The demand for Medicare guidance is increasing, and it's digital. More people want to conduct this process online and connect directly to a plan. They also want a trusted reference and resource. So we built Ask Claire. It's a digital, data-driven platform that cuts out the intermediary. Let's consider Sandra again. She's not optimally covered with her Medicare coverage, and she wants to find a better fit. She has tried a few different online tools, but she's found that they didn't help her. They didn't even always share all available options. So she logs on to Ask Claire. She uses the easy to understand interface, tells us what's important to her. The platform uses those inputs and sifts through all available options to present a curated list of plans. Now she's ready to dig in with 2 plans, and then she connects directly to them. Fast forward to the next year. She checks in with Ask Claire, updates what she's looking for, checks user feedback on the plan, and then confirms, you know what, this year I have the right plan. You see, unlike other solutions today, we're not focused on capitalizing on switching or churn within the health plans. For us, it starts with a fundamentally different belief that the Medicare choice is a healthcare choice. We're focused on getting it right the first time. And then, as a person's needs change, making sure that we find the right fit for those changing needs. In this way, we are aligning our incentives with the consumers and the health plans. We're leaning into the power of data and technology to personalize the experience, deliver clear and transparent answers to questions typically answered by an individual, and deliver a qualified potential member directly to the carrier of their choice. So our goal is to deliver a more confident enrollee and better long-term value for the health plan, all at a more affordable cost. We're monetizing our service in 3 ways. A fee for the real-time handoff of a qualified prospect from our platform to partner carriers, priced competitively against broker commissions. A subscription or advisory fee for data and analytics products. And in the long run, a service fee for placement or referrals to what we're calling aging adjacent services. We've assembled a senior team that not only has deep experience in healthcare strategy and operations, but has a long track record of working together. As a former executive at Scan Health Plan, this is a space I know well. I know this is a critical opportunity, and just as importantly, I know the challenges we'll face as we grow and scale. Our advisory board and investors are steeped in healthcare expertise and have had multiple successes growing, scaling, and exiting businesses. Together, we've made a lot of progress quickly, and we're poised for the next phase. We're projecting $40 million in revenue over 5 years. We expect that we will continue to invest in growing our business through the first 4 and reach profitability in year 5. I said that we've made a lot of progress. I'm really proud of it. When we first tested this progress of our product in Southern California, we launched for 12 weeks and we reduced our cost per acquisition by 40%. We saw a 130% increase in our repeat user engagement. Earlier this month, we scaled to a national platform. Yesterday, at the start of annual enrollment period, every Medicare beneficiary's favorite time of the year,
30 seconds.
We kicked off our pilot with a regional Medicare Advantage plan. The goal of our pilot program is simple: continue to improve our guidance service in partnership with the carriers and test and validate our core operating metrics. As we move forward, we are focused on scaling our customer base, building our audience, and prototyping our first set of data products. To continue our momentum, we're seeking to raise $1.5 million. Our terms are subject to discussion, and we're looking for strategic partners to join us on this journey. Thank you very much, guys.
Perfect timing, Riaz. Thank you. Questions? Greg and Michael, I promise you first. Oh, Matt. Matt, go for it.
Having just gone through this process of picking Medicare in April, I can completely relate to how do you simplify this for the user. How do you maintain independence so that somebody like me would actually trust what you're providing me?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Let me answer that. It has to do with 2 of our 3 differentiating principles. The first is, if you look at online tools that are commercially available, what they'll do is they'll use the contracted plans because they're basically online brokers. We are powered by CMS data, so we have gone directly to the source. We are the only consumer platform outside of Medicare.gov that is powered by the CMS data. So what that allows us to do is it allows us to make sure that when we're surfacing and we're curating your options, we're actually narrowing the universe down based on everything that's available to you. That's a key component of our differentiation. It's also not enough. The second part of this is the business model. And so by focusing not on commissions and enrollments, which is the main lifeblood for online brokers, we are building a 3-pronged revenue strategy. The first is the real-time handoff. That allows us to monetize the transition between our platform and partners. It does not require us, however, to eliminate any plans in the consumer interface that we have. So if you go on to Ask Claire today, you will be able to see all of those options. Our partners are the only ones that get the real-time handoff in order to make sure that you can then connect directly with that plan. If you're not a partner of ours, consumers can still connect with the plan by looking at the 1-800 number that we provide. So that is how we are working on managing and maintaining our independence.
Thank you, Raz. Greg, you go first, and Bob, you go next. Go ahead, Greg.
So if you're using publicly available data with the CMS database, talking about the intellectual property protection that you have and keeps anybody else from copying your whole system.
That's a great question. The differentiation is never going to be in the benefits data. The benefits data are publicly available and have always been there. What's really the differentiating factor is the way in which we are going to be curating our proprietary algorithm that does the curation by focusing on the consumer values and then building out the short list that they will be able to curate with. So our intellectual property, to the extent that there is in a public program like Medicare, is not going to be predicated upon the access to the benefits data. It's actually predicated upon the algorithm and the matching that we are building.
Bob, next question, please.
This is a similar question. This is an incredibly crowded space.
Yeah.
How are you going to catch these people? I'm confused.
There's a couple of points to that. It is an incredibly crowded space, and I think the first thing I should mention is that it is a sign of what I think the opportunity is. I think the other thing is that it's a crowded space all in the same vertical. There is, if you look at the data, there's about 20% of people who say they want to go through a broker. There are equal number of people who don't want to go through the broker. We're targeting a different market. So while we are in the Medicare space, we're not building another brokerage online. We're not building another business model that replicates that. We're targeting a different customer that's looking for a more do-it-yourself model and that wants to go directly to the carrier and manage this process by themselves.
If I could just finish that, you're modeling yourself, not sure it's true, as consumer reports, if you will, like in the car valuation, and then you can call these car dealers. Is that correct?
I would say that there's a little bit of that. I would say that the other part of this is having spent a lot of time looking and talking to consumers, part of this is how you actually guide them so that you can increase the confidence in the plan. So consumer reports is an independent validation of what high quality plans are. There is a CMS STAR programs, we serve that. Our real value proposition is the guidance engine that allows people to navigate the process of what kinds of plans are important for them, what kinds of coverage do they need, so that they can land on an option that is more curated to them. So consumer reports, yes, partially correct, but it is not the full story.
Okay,
30 seconds to us. Any other questions, guys? All right, if we have no further questions.
Yeah, actually.
Okay, Matt, go for it, Matt.
I have one. Doesn't Medicare do something like this? And
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
would I use yours as opposed to what Medicare provides?
Yeah, that's another.
For your answer, Riaz,
Yes.
judges, please start evaluating, and then Riaz is going to answer while you're evaluating. Go for
Great.
it.
That's a great question. There's one big reason that Medicare cannot do what we're doing. So yes, they have the information, but Medicare cannot help steer and guide people to plans based on assessments that they are providing. They cannot make value judgments. A big distinction is between Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement. Do you need a Part D plan? The government has to stay completely objective and neutral from the consumer standpoint. It serves a purpose for information gathering, but again, we're building a guidance engine that is intended to help people navigate based on their own values and then connect directly to the carriers.
Thank you. All righty.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much, Riaz. All right. We have next Wise IoT Solution LLC. I'm ready now, Kwan. I wasn't ready twice before, so now I'm ready. Okay. All right. And we have Reza. Reza, you're coming on. Here we go. Michael Norson, how are you?
Good, JJ. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Thanks for the intro yesterday. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Reza, just turn your mic on and your camera, and yeah, whenever you start, we'll be ready.
Reza, can you hear us?
I just requested from him to unmute. All right, sorry. I clicked on by mistake, requesting again.
Do you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right, you can turn on your camera. All right, you'll start the video later, that's fine. Go ahead.
You should see my video now.
We do not, but go ahead anyways. We can see your screen, but not your video. Okay, now we can.
Oh, sorry. Hello, everybody. This is Reza Sherkat, founder and CEO of Wise IoT Solution. I started this company because my father had a heart failure and he ended up to be in the emergency room, and they find out about his heart failure and ejection fraction was lower than 30%. And after staying in the hospital and ICU for 3 weeks, when he discharged, he has to go back to hospital because recurrence of the heart failure, acute heart failure. So we started this company, and the issue is that the physician cannot predict when the next acute heart failure is going to occur. heart failure accounts for 875,000 hospitalization every year and costs $32 billion. So the treatment option would be very limited when the patient get to the emergency room, and the quality of their life comes down every time they lose 10% of their functional ability. So our solution addresses this challenge and predict acute heart failure and allows the doctors to intervene in a timely manner. So as you can see here, the edge devices is sitting in the living room of the patient, and it's capturing the data from the different wearables, including patches for ECG and a wristband for other things like a blood pressure or pulse oximeter. And all these data is gathered and analyzed, and finding the correlation between the events and physiological changes that happen for the before the heart failure happens. So we try to predict few hours earlier and let the doctor with our interpretive report intervene and kind of be able to avoid the adverse events. So the heart failure has symptoms like a shortness of breath and lower activity. But before this, there are two processes, forward flow and backward flow. Forward flow decrease and backward flow increase that end up to be some physiological changes that is happening before the symptoms show off. So our edge trying to address or be able to detect this pattern, like your heart rate goes up and you have a tachycardia, your congestion you have more congestion because of the fluid in your lung get more accumulated, your pulse oximeter, your oxygen level drops, and you have a more burden of arrhythmia. And then also at the end, you have a lower activity due to all of these physiological changes that are happening. And normally these physiological changes happening before the symptoms show off and you need to go to emergency room. So how this edge is going to analyze this data in a long temporal history of this data. So we are gathering we have the feature extraction that is feeding these data to these correlation engines, and these correlation engines finding the correlation between every pair of these inputs, including arrhythmia, and it try to find these correlation and feed those correlation outputs as a biomarkers to the next stage, which is the prediction model for the heart failure and finding the risk of the heart failure. So this is little zooming in, and as we said, the bioimpedance may drop, your heart rate variation start to go, you lose your heart rate variability, your burden of AFib start to go up, your SpO2 goes down, and activity goes down. But actually this is happening over time, maybe during the few hours. So it's
30
not,
seconds.
so it's going to, the main thing is that how we are going to put the attention and how to make a interpretive model that we can explain and the doctors can adopt as we explaining with our attention models and different layers of interpretability. So our AI is interpretable, and we have all this accumulating of all this information from different biomarkers. We have one competitor, which is the HeartLogic. Those are implants, but not every patient are.
Reza, let's see if you can work this information into the questions because we're out of time. So let me get the first question from Robert. Robert, go for it.
Thank you. Great presentation. So I have three questions that are on one theme, which is gathering the information for the develop the algorithm. So my first part of it is, how many patients do you need information from? Second part of that is do you have access to get, say, like 1 million records from these patients? And the third is how long will it take you to develop the artificial intelligence algorithms?
So the first question answer is that Because our AI is interpretable AI and is not a black box deep learning AI, we only need 700 to 1,000 patients to train the algorithms. And what was the second question?
Do you have access to get that number of records?
Yes, we have actually 4 sites currently. One is in South San Diego, one is in Orange County, and one is in the LA, and the other one is in Canada. These 4 sites, these are the traction that we are having customers that are putting the devices for the patients.
And then the third part of the question is how long will it take you to create the algorithms so that you can compare notes with the doctors and they can validate this?
When you say compare the notes, it's a real time.
I understand that, but what you're doing is you're predicting. So you need to have something to validate it.
Yes, that's what we are doing right now with our clinical trial and with running over the 7,000 to 1,000 patients. We are putting them to 2 groups. One group is the doctor will intervene, the other one doctor doesn't intervene. And then we validating the metrics for the group that we intervene, how much we reduce the readmission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Greg.
2 quick questions. One is, what is the deal? What are you looking for as far as investment? The second thing is, there's lots of different types of remote monitoring devices out there. Will you be using a certain type or brand, or do you have to build interfaces with all the devices that are out there?
Very, very good question. We are raising $1.5 million. And actually, the second question, if I understand it correctly, can you repeat that second question?
Yeah. You're relying on a lot of devices at home. There's lots of different types of devices.
So all the devices we have, the wearables, are already FDA approved. All we are doing is the edge computing are the algorithms that we are going through the process of FDA, and the FDA clearance would be ready next summer.
Okay, thank you.
Yoko.
Yeah, I looked at the sheet where you have your revenue and EBITDA projections, and it looks like at the third quarter of 2021, you're going to start to generate revenues, but why does it take 2 years before you get to break even?
So because the first generation, actually, that's a very good question. We don't know when is the break even, because break even is a just projection or something that we have to consider based on the revenue and the cost. But the main thing is that we need another round of 3 million in the next year to be able to increase our sales and marketing and be able to make our commercial launch to scale and go up. So we consider very conservative revenue projection here.
Reza, so we have about a minute. I don't see any other questions. Were there any other slides that you want to show the judges?
Yes,
for your last minute?
Actually, our go-to-market strategy, as we already showed the traction that we have for the transitional care. These are the patients that get discharged from hospital. We are already working with this transitional care and home health care, and we are going to expand the next year based on the key opinion leaders to go to the ACOs and to the payers. The payers and Medicare are main the value-based healthcare, and Medicare is pushing for something like this to be able to implement this value-based care. And based on the VC of Qualcomm, they mentioned your edge technology is the only way to enable the value-based healthcare.
You still have 15 seconds. Any last
So
pitch?
this is our subscription-based business model. So we use the current reimbursement codes that the patient the doctor get paid through the Medicare or the existing codes, and then we charge them based on the numbers that you see here.
Thank you, Reza. Every drop, right? Every drop. That was it. Thank you, Reza.
All right, very good. Thank you, Reza, very much. And bringing on the next company, and that is Certesic. I don't know how to say it. All right, so we got Patrick. I was told Patrick, Alex, and Rob. So I'm bringing all three on, I guess. So here's Alex and here's Patrick. Patrick, you're in. Alex, you're in. Rob, if you want to be in, raise your hand. All right, so only Patrick and Alex. Go ahead, you can, one of you can share the screen and you can start pitching, and Rob, I'm bringing you in too. So. All right, who's sharing?
So Rob will be sharing.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I thought this raise hand thing was actually physically raising my hand.
No, I can't see you, so now, yeah, no physical.
Okay. Can you see my
virtual
screen here?
World, Rob, virtual world.
I know, this is the Zoom universe. Okay.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Luckily, we're not in the business of Zoom competition.
So how do you say the company name?
It's Zaretza, sorry. I have the same problem. My last name's Pastrozny, and I've been dealing with this my whole life. I want to escape it, but it's coming back to me. So it's Zaretza.
There you go. Zaretza.
Okay. All set. Hi, everybody. My name's Robert Pastrozny. I am one of the co-founders of Zaretza. And what we're doing here is we're working to build the future of antibiotics. Because as many of you may know, bacteria is increasingly becoming resistant to all of the world's antibiotics. And it's so much so that we are at risk of losing these wonder drugs entirely. And if we do that, it puts modern medicine at risk, the very core of it, because without antibiotics, we can't do any kind of invasive procedures, no surgery. We won't be able to have C-sections. Cancer treatment's going to disappear. We can't do transplants. Basically, anything where you open up the body without antibiotics, it's too risky, so you can't do it. And you'd have a risk of deadly infection. So despite this looming threat, antibiotic approvals and development have been going down over the years instead of up, to the point where at this moment we have nothing in the development pipeline that is adequate to keep up with the pace of resistance. Already here in the United States alone, every 15 minutes a person dies from bacteria that is resistant to antibiotics. And this is increasing at such a rate that antibiotic resistance is considered one of the greatest public health threats in the world. It's right up there with climate change. But I am happy to say that there is hope in the form of a new class of chemicals that we've discovered called ACEs. ACEs are the first new class of broad-spectrum antibiotic developed in over a half century. I mean, there's nothing like it. And so bacteria, they really have no resistance to it. ACEs were discovered much like penicillin was, by accident. We were doing work with the military trying to produce energy from bacteria. And we noticed that our early compounds were just killing these bacteria at unprecedented levels. And so we thought, my God, here's an opportunity to really attack this big problem. So we went into the antibiotic space. And in studies that we've done on mice that were infected with untreatable superbug diseases, we've had a 100% survival rate. So ACEs I mean, they're really paradigm changing. The structure is very simple. They're easy to produce, and they're modular and tunable, so that almost like Legos, so we can quickly change them around. And we have a very strong IP position. We have a 3-year option from UCSB on ACE coverage as it relates to the entire antibiotic space, as well as synergistic therapy. And this allows us to really treat a wide range of diseases, the first of which being NTM lung disease. Now, this is a $2.5 billion market, and it's increasing 5% per year. And the current drug available to treat this is only 29% effective, with absolutely horrible side effects like deafness, hearing loss. ACEs can potentially cure 100% of these patients, reducing side effects and reducing treatment time. Now, our projected drug sales following approval is $1 billion year 5 peak sales. This is a quarter of the projected total market. And it's important to note here that that drug I was telling you about that was 29% effective, the first year that was introduced on the market, that generated over $136 million in revenue. So there's quite a demand for this, and we feel we can do a lot better. Our team is uniquely suited to tackle a problem such as this. We have up here on the upper left is Guy Bazan. He's one of the world's top material scientists. ACEs were discovered in his lab. We have 4 PhDs, and we have entrepreneurs with proven track records, such as successful tech exits of over $70 million. Now, Zaretza, we've raised $80,000 so far from friends, family, neighbors, and we have $2 million in non-dilutive funding. And we're seeking $500K to do proof of principle studies against NTM and also file international patents. So that would be
30 seconds.
Yeah, the $500K would be in a safe offering, which would convert to preferred stock once we do an equity round. And so, you know, really, here's the thing. I mean, sure, there's opportunity and we have advantage and all that, but this investment is different because we really believe that this technology can change the world. I mean, this can potentially save millions of lives in the future, and never know, it may save one of your lives as well.
Thank you, Rob. Tell us more about it on the questions, okay? Anyway, do we have a first question coming in? Greg, go for it.
Thanks, Rob. You're tackling a tough problem.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about the development. How do you plan on actually marketing this, you know, when it's available?
Yeah, so, you know, one of our objectives, as you say, it's a big problem. One of our objectives is to have we have an exit opportunity and IPO or acquisition in about 5 years once we reach phase 2 of the clinical trial. So, you know, in terms of the marketing and all that sort of thing, that's a little bit later on. I think to a certain degree, you know, this product is very different from anything out there. I mean, people are dying, it could save on treatment time. And so we're going to have to partner with somebody in phase 3, a big pharma or somebody like that. And so there'll be some synergy with that.
Ilko.
Yeah, in your presentation, there's a slide about a potential exit, but also what it will take to get to there. I don't know if you can share the slide, but...
Oh, did I have... okay, let me see there. Patrick, maybe you want to answer this. You want the timeline, right?
Yeah. And,
sure.
I mean, it looks like you have a very ambitious path. And if I calculated it right, you need about it's a little further. You need about $130 million to get to the end of phase 2. Do you have any other companies that you can compare with that went through a similar process with a similar amount of money that needed to be raised?
Good question. Patrick or Alex, you want to answer this one?
Yeah, what I would say is that the exit opportunity could potentially happen after phase 1. You know, I think we would get more after phase 2, and IPO is also a possibility, and that's what we've seen other companies do. And so it'd be $56 million to get to the end of phase 1, where we would see, you know, those opportunities for, you know, a sale or IPO. And then example companies so the company that actually has the existing drug has done very well. So they, despite it only being 29% effective, I think that the market cap on that company is around $2 billion, and it's publicly traded. And that's the only drug they have in the market.
Thank you, Bob.
What other evidence do you have currently that this works? You talk about the 10 to 20 mice. I'm sure somebody else is there outside corroboration that this is as amazing as you say it is.
Yeah, Alex, you want to take that?
Sure. So we have tons of in vitro data. For more in vivo data, we're working with Walter Reed, the Army Institute of Research, and they've been doing some in vitro data for us because they have a big library of very hard to kill bacteria, and those tests have gone well, so they're going to start validating in mice models.
Any other questions, guys? Well, I have a question. So the general compound that you have there, it could have a lot of permutations in terms of its species. Do you have a particular compound that you're using? Is there a lead compound that you have, or is there a number of them that you're trying right now and then to find a lead compound?
Yeah, we're still developing the lead compound.
Okay, so the lead compound that you're developing, if I heard you right earlier, this technology is licensed out from UCSB, is that correct?
Yes.
How long was that ago? What is it? Is it a patented matter, or is it still pending? Is the application, is it a patent application, or is it an issued patent? That's what I'm asking.
It's a pending patent, and it's at the national phase. So there's actually two patents. One that's a provisional that's about to become PCT, and then another one that just entered the national phase, covering composition of matter.
Thank you. Guys, we have about 45 seconds. Judges, any other questions?
We have one question. The gentleman in the blue blazer, I saw him raising his hand, unless that was
I
answered.
think that was me.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a question. I want to understand, you discovered this accidentally by working on a military product. So tell me, who's we, and what did you know, how does that affect, how does that relate to what you're doing now?
So we would be Guy Bazan's lab at UCSB, and we have a long-standing collaboration with Army Research Lab, making kind of the progenitor compounds of the compounds we're working with now, designing them for remote sensor applications where they would help collect current from bacteria. And that did lead to joint patents, but they don't interfere with the new structures that we're using for antibiotics.
All right. Thanks, Alex. Okay, that's all the time we have.
Thank you, guys.
All right, let's move on.
Thank you very much. Good presentation. All right. I will move. Give me 1 second. I'm working on it.
As long as you're not playing video games over there, JJ.
No, I'm not. Okay. All right. Last one. Z-Loss DX Inc. All right. And who would that be? Raise your hand. Mary, here we go. All right, Mary, whenever you are ready, you can start. Amy, I like that backdrop.
Thank you. Wish I was there.
Yeah, I know.
Mary, you
need to start my video.
There you go. You're on.
All right. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the finale today. This is a great position to be in. My name is Mary Wesselhoff. I'm the president and co-founder of Z-Loss Diagnostics. We are commercializing blood testing products for brain disease. We refer to our technology as window into the brain. We're commercializing tools that help our target customer, the research, make breakthrough discoveries in brain disease and in brain health. We all know that neurological conditions affect the lives of many, 100 million in the US alone for those diseases we target, and $1.3 trillion of healthcare expenses. Still no cures, still very few therapeutics, many failed drug trials, Where do we come in? We believe that one of the critical missing pieces is the lack of biomarkers that are available in lots of other diseases, but not in neuro. Simple blood testing products that can be used for detection, stratifying customers, endpoints for pharmaceutical trials. That's our mission. And it is over $3.9 billion size market for biomarkers in neuro. So how do we solve it? We, as I mentioned, refer to it as window into the brain, a cellular approach where we mine the macrophage for brain debris. And the key is no one is looking in cells. So what does that look like? Imagine you're looking at your brain cells, and as they're damaged, they break down their building blocks. They break down proteins. And so lots of people have studied what the proteins are associated with these biomarkers. Our approach is universal. We have 3 prototypes that we're looking at for some of these biomarkers, but it could be retooled for many. So how are we different? Imagine you're looking at a blood vein highlighted in blue here. Our approach with the cell acts as a natural concentrator. It enriches the patient population for the biomarkers that we want. It doesn't require sensitivity, low-cost assays that can be released. We have 6 issued patents. We focus on US, Canada, and Europe. So who are our customers? With this last round, we narrowed our customer base from the whole market to the research use only product because we know we needed to get it out into the market rapidly. So we've highlighted this middle section, and that's what we're focusing on as a research use only. We could do that without having regulatory approval and reimbursement approval. We have 6 collaborators. We have the 3 prototypes, 6 collaborators waiting to test. We have 2 that have started. So our business model is to license. Our whole goal is to have someone else produce the product for kits, and also to be used on equipment as well. Get to leverage their sales organizations and reach this group of customers. But we do believe that there is a service revenue that we can release even earlier, as evidenced by our different collaborators. So who are we targeting from a licensing perspective? You can see there's a list of people who focus in neurological conditions. These folks can be licensing, can be our exit, and in some cases will be our competitors. Our team has a significant amount of diagnostics experience. I've been in diagnostics my whole career, launched biomarkers that are still utilized in the market. UVA has released and worked on one of the only FDA cleared products for TBI. Our inventor here is Ramesh Nayak, invented as a part of the company. We own the IP. Our board has been very active. They bring the therapeutic expertise, and they are all investors with our first round of angels. Our milestones and our timelines around some of the things we talked about, licensing, et cetera. These kinds of assumptions ultimately feed into how we believe we can have a business of 3 to 5 years, 4 to 5 years that grows to $8 million and ultimately $11 million. So to date, we've raised over $2.3 million from these angel groups, another $750,000 from granting agencies. We're currently raising the rest of our $500,000 convertible promissory note. The first 300 was actually raised in the middle of COVID, and it's $4.5 million pre-money with a 20% discount. In terms of exit, for the investor's perspective, we believe in acquisition in 2 to 3 years. Generally, the benchmark companies that we've looked at, once a company reaches about $5 to $10 million, it makes them more attractive from an acquisition. 5 to 13 times revenue is generally the exit. So thank you. We believe this last slide recaps what we think this makes an investor a good investment opportunity. I'm ready for questions.
Perfect timing, Marie. Perfect timing. Thank you. All right, any questions? And you have to, Bob, you actually have to click on the hand on screen, not just physically raise your hand. So Bob, and then Greg.
Marie, I'm sorry, I didn't follow you. Is the next, there's a convertible note that goes to a preferred Is that the last raise or is there another raise after?
We believe it's the last raise.
Okay.
So it converts into a $1 to $1.5 million raise. When you look at our financials, we can reach break even. If the acquisition hasn't occurred at that time, we're already break even. We could actually raise one more small round for scaling, but we hope to exit before that.
Greg.
Thanks, Marie. So you're able to identify and measure biomarkers. Have you drawn the correlation with the diseases associated with those different levels of biomarkers in the serum?
Yep. And so we use the blood sample, but we use the cells instead of the serum. And so our first round of data demonstrated that we could measure in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, and also TBI. The challenge is we can absolutely measure that it's detectable. That's what allows us to bring it out as a research. There isn't any one biomarker today that's available that actually diagnoses. So what we can do is any biomarker that needs to be watched, we can watch them this way. The advantage is earlier detection, better sensitivity, and also some information about inflammatory processes. So our collaborators in the research area will help us get to some significant populations in the next data. That was a great question. Thanks.
Other questions?
It's Friday and I haven't left you speechless, I can't imagine.
Well, if there's no other questions, I'm quite familiar with this technology. So what's beautiful about this is that it is an agnostic biomarker detector. You have this Pac-Man-like phagocyte that basically it is in the central nervous system, and it gobbles up stuff that you want to see. And then it makes its way out into the periphery. And it carries things that are in the CNS that you usually can't access because there's a blood-brain barrier. And then you can actually see, and you have a window into the brain. And that's where the term window into the brain comes from. So you can actually see that. Did I get that?
Quan is our intellectual property attorney, just FYI. And he's helped us.
I thought you were a doctor or something.
So
before.
That relates to a question. Since you're still just looking at the little pieces, once they're inside of the macrophage or whatever.
Yes, debris.
Like, what does the patent cover? How does it protect somebody else from just blowing that thing up and using the regular tests on it?
Let me answer first, and if Quan needs to. So two things. Number one, we're as Quan said, we're agnostic to what gets measured. We're measuring two things. We protected the use of the phagocyte as a shuttle vector for carrying this debris from the brain and into the periphery. And we also have covered the methodology for which we actually test it. Now, I could go into more details, but that falls into those two categories. And some of the methodologies take us into interesting ways of measurement.
So you can actually patent using a macrophage to measure what's in the brain. I want to see the other guy waving his head, Mr. IP. Come on, Mr.
No offense. Marie did it. It's a long, and it was a lot of good luck as well. So Marie started this process a while ago, and the law was not very friendly towards that, and that's why you raised the question, and it's a totally very good question. But the law has changed in her favor, and to some extent, COVID has changed the law towards Marie's favor as well. So Marie has been reaping the windfall of favors heading her way in that respect of patenting.
Right. We've needed to be very opportunistic and keep the IP going and capitalize on any new, pathways that are being taken.
All right. Well, thank you, Marie, and great presentation. And I'm glad Quan is answering some of the questions.
I love it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. All right, gentlemen, evaluate, please.
Everyone, yes, please evaluate. We will announce, by the way, telling everybody, we will announce the winner of this category tonight or this evening, or maybe tomorrow morning at the very latest. But please evaluate. If anyone needs more time, do you need more time to evaluate, like till tomorrow, or you can finish by the end of the day today? You're good, Greg? Okay. If everybody's good, that's good. So we'll announce this category and B2B and B2C, which were this week. We'll announce them tomorrow. This is not over. There's still 3 next week and 2 the week after for the rest of the categories. So if you're on, stay tuned for some links so you can, join us. This was a great category, you guys. Blown away by the caliber of companies we've seen. So that was really good.
Good job, JJ.
JJ,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
JJ,
Yes.
Can we discuss sort of the top 5 that we want in?
Well, the attendees are still on. Unless
No. I'm not talking. What I'm saying is, I would like, and JJ and I talked about this. I'd like a way to say, hey, these 5 companies, I really like them, and I want to invest or see them again, whether or not they make this cut here. Does anybody else have an interest in sort of thumbs up, thumbs down companies, independent of, there we go, of whether they win?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've already reached out to 1 or 2 of them myself, so
yeah.
I assume the answer is yeah, we can do.
So just to give you a heads up, where is Shaheen still online? Yeah, Shaheen is still here. So we talked a little bit about maybe an SPV. So Shaheen and I are gonna announce maybe an SPV if anyone wants to do it next week, and not only the life sciences, but in any of the companies that anybody's interested in. So we will create an SPV for each, and that makes it a little bit easier to have a bunch of us invest in it instead of just having individuals directly going into that. So we'll send an email in the next couple of days, just because Shaheen and I just talked about this maybe like 15 minutes before we got on. So he's got already the structure in place, Shaheen, and so I think it will be good to let everybody know if anyone's interested. Michael, if you're interested in the companies as well, since you guys have a big fund and either in SPV or let us into any of the things you're doing, that would be great as well.
Yeah, happy to.
Hey, how much do these guys win at the end of the day?
I'm sorry, say that again, Matt.
How much of these companies can they win if they're a finalist or one of the finalists?
We have the list of prizes on the first page of the website, which is ventureplancompetition.com. But they win each category. Each category will win between $25,000 and $30,000 between cash and in-kind prizes, and then the finalist will be about $40,000 cash and in-kind. But they're all listed on the website.
Okay, great, thank you.
Other than that, so again, if any of you would be interested in SPV, we'll announce it, and again, it's not, it's just an option. So no one is being forced to do anything. It's just an option if you guys want to do it. Any thumbs up on that, just so we can get a little short poll, like one from Greg. All right, Matt maybe, Matt and Robert, Bob maybe. Okay. Oh, here's Elko. Okay, so that's like 50%.
Great.
All right. We'll let you know what that is, and again, if that's something you're interested in, it'll be great. So, all right.
Thanks
you,
for
Dan.
great organization, JJ, Juan, and Stephen, and I wish everyone a very nice and happy weekend.
Yes.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Great job, everybody.
Awesome.
Great weekend.
It was a lot of fun.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.